Makgeolli Talk. Today I'm going to talk about 6 things that can go wrong when you're making makgeolli. All of these things have happened to me, so here we go. Number 1, too sour. The makgeolli I made was too sour. For me, that happened only when I did not add any additional yeast. I just used Naruk, no additional yeast of any kind. My brew turned out too sour. That's one thing that can go wrong. Number 2, rice weevils. These are tiny little insects that float up dead in your brew. Where did they come from? It's very disconcerting when you see them. It's not a fatal problem. You can generally just fish them out. So where did they come from? They came from the Naruk. And I've had this happen to me with different brands of Naruk. A little inconsistent, but it does happen. The insects like Naruk, and when you brew with this Naruk, they're dead in there and they float up to the top. So it's very unpleasant. They're very small, maybe 1 millimeter long. You have to look at them really closely. Small black insects that like eating rice, I guess. So fish them out with chopsticks. As soon as you see them, they'll float to the top. On day 1 of brewing, or maybe day 2, they'll float to the top. Take them out with chopsticks and finish your brew. They don't ruin things. It's just unpleasant. So that's another thing that could go wrong. Number 3, chalky texture. I've had this happen to me a few times. It happened when I ground some rice or I ground some other grains and I didn't control the size very well, and I really squeezed it when I was straining. So that forced the largest possible size of particle through the strainer and resulted in more of a chalky texture, which is undesirable. So I think that problem can be solved with sifting, or by using different recipe. Number 4, this has happened to me a few times. Overflow. What I mean is you have your bottle peacefully in the fridge. You think you vented it enough. You take it out to serve. You open it. Seems peaceful. And then 15 seconds later, all the carbon dioxide that's in the sediment decides to pop up and it just overflows all over the place. So that's unpleasant. It would also be unpleasant if it happened in the fridge. So that's something that can go wrong. You can counteract that by venting your brew in the fridge frequently and just keeping a better eye on it than I did. Number 5, unwanted growths. Let's say this happened to me when I look at my makgeolli brewing and there's some kind of strange color on the top of the brew. Maybe that's so that could be some unwelcome kind of yeast or other kind of growth. This especially happens to me when I add additional ingredients. So I'm a little unsure for instance, if I added a banana at the beginning of the brew, did that affect it? Did it bring some bad yeast into the brew? So that would be a problem. Solution for that is to stir it. So you stir it and give your preferred yeast a chance to dominate the unwanted yeast or unwanted growth, and a chance to incorporate the ingredients, give your yeast a chance to digest whatever it is. So that's a possible solution for that. And then finally, number 6 that I've experienced is no fermentation. You think it's fermenting okay, and then you listen to it and it's very quiet, no bubbles. That is the worst kind of problem. This hasn't happened to me with chapsal, but it's happened to me with other kinds of grains that I'm trying to ferment. So that's the worst thing. There could be many causes for this. In my case, I think it was my recipe. I didn't prepare the grains properly. Maybe the grinding or the cooking was not appropriate. You can also, if your yeast was dead or the temperatures were too high when you, say if you added hot godebap to Naruk, that would neutralize the Naruk. The enzymes wouldn't work, and then there'd be no food for fermentation. All kinds of possibilities for that situation. But it's something that can happen. But it's never happened to me with chapsal. Chapsal has been very forgiving, following the standard recipe in a primer brewing makgeolli has been very reliable. That ferments always. It's only when I try to experiment that sometimes the fermentation is off and it doesn't work. So these are 6 things that can go wrong when you're making makgeolli. These have happened to me, and there are ways to overcome them. And even if you encounter these problems, good thing about makgeolli is you can make another batch in a week or 2. Problem solved. So thank you for watching.